Hey everyone, my name is Michelle, and I am really excited to be here. I'm not exactly, there we go. 6 negative human behaviors in the workplace. So this is what we're going to chat about today. I'm really excited about this topic. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle, and I work with senior management and HR professionals who are frustrated, stressed, and struggling with employee drama or conflict in the workplace that may be leading to high turnover in this day and age, and would like to create a positive, motivated, and productive winning team for your organization. So if this is something that's important to you, then I encourage you to take some time and pay attention to what I'm going to share today. So we're going to talk a little bit about how, as a manager, it's part of your role to resolve the negative drama in the workplace within your teams. And if you're like me, I studied engineering. So I didn't take a course in psychology. And as much as I took conflict management, and it was like, listen, pay attention, ask questions, it really wasn't as effective because some people it worked well with, and other people, it didn't matter what I said, it did not resolve the situation. But what if there's an easy way to identify and transform negative behavior into a positive, productive, and motivated work culture? And I have managed to learn this secret from the expert in the world. So the good news is it is possible to actually understand human behavior. And what Dr. Taibi Kahler discovered in the 1970s when he was studying this was that there are 6 negative human behaviors. And he actually defined them as mini scripts that he recognized by watching and observing people. And Dr. Kahler was then invited by NASA to come help and work with them around the topic of interviewing and making sure that they had the best astronauts in space. Because here's the thing about you and I, at the end of the workday, if we're frustrated with somebody, if we're in a leadership role, we're tired and stressed out, we can be like, you know what, I'm going home. But imagine being in space. You don't get to leave the spaceship, right? You have to stay there. You have to be able to deal with the issues that are coming up. And if you don't, it's a life or death situation. So what Taibi determined were there were 6 behaviors, or these 6 distress patterns that show up in people. And as leaders, we can learn to recognize them, which to me was like mind blowing. It was like, oh, there is a secret, there is a tool, this is what it is. And what he discovered were these, 6 patterns. I'm just going to take a sip of water. In people. And the first one I'm going to talk about, because I hear a lot about it, is micromanaging and over-controlling. It seems like this is the #1 topic that people think is the biggest leadership problem. So about 25% of the population will get into micromanaging and over-controlling. The next one, and that one's actually mine in my behavior. The next is this concept of crusading. So if you ever had a boss that's like, you shall do this, you will do this, do this. There's like very much that finger pointing, that face is pierced and direct. Or maybe you've got somebody on your team who's very much, in my opinion, I believe this, this is what we should do, go do this, right? That's another form of negative behavior. Another one that's actually bigger than we recognize and more common than micromanaging is somebody who over-adapts and starts to make mistakes. And so they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. They start to invite criticism in. And what happens is they'll actually start to make mistakes unconsciously to get you to recognize them. So that is actually the biggest and most common issue in employee problems and actually with leaders as well. The next is blaming and shaming. Do you have somebody who we used to call them the Teflon person, right? They were the person that nothing seemed to stick to, right? They always redirected the blame somewhere else. They pointed it out as if it was never their fault. Yes, we've all met those people, right? Then you have the person who manipulates. So they will give some piece of information to one person, right? And then go off and give somebody else something else to cause like an argument, to leave them and be somewhere else and manipulate the situation so it's not their responsibility. And then the last one, and I've experienced this actually with a few leaders in my life, they're ones who passively wait. So if there's an argument or an issue, instead they like retreat, go back into their office, close the door, like ignore the situation like it is not happening. So these are the 6 personality negative behaviors that we can see in the workplace. And I am curious, as you have gone through this, which ones are coming up for you as your primary one? Which is the one where you're like, oh yeah, I do that. You don't want to like raise your hand really loud, but it's like, yes, I do that behavior myself. And then think about the people that you work with. Who picks up one of these behaviors more often, and maybe somebody else picks up another one of these behaviors? These behaviors all happen because we're actually in a state of stress. And so as leaders and as professionals in the HR professional, the more we can start to recognize these patterns and learn the tool, we can actually make a difference in our organization in helping people overcome these behaviors and offering solutions to them. And wouldn't it be really nice to be able to have a solution, to be able to go, okay, this is what I need to do or say in this situation with this person who's behaving in this pattern? Well, the secret is what Taibi and NASA developed, which was called the process communication model. And in this model, one of the things that you start with is actually becoming aware of your own patterns, both on the good side, like what is your most natural way of communicating and connecting, and what is the psychological needs that you need so that you can become aware of that negative behavior within us. Because if we're going to help others, we need to start by being aware of how we show up. And once we are aware, then what we can do is actually start to put in action plans that help us from a psychological needs standpoint, to put us in a place where we are relaxed, where we are not in a state of stress. Because if we are stressed and emotionally connected, it is really hard for us to be able to go in and have those conversations and be prepared. Once we've actually learned to manage that and learned ourselves, then we can start to be better at recognizing the stress patterns in others. And we learn the techniques on how to offer people opportunity to come out of their distress pattern by learning to communicate to them in a way that relates to them, helping them put action plans in their day that keep them also in a positive psychological space. And when you do that, when you start to work with individuals from a management perspective on their psychological needs, on helping them build action plans in their day that support them showing up as being positive, motivated, excited to do work, you're able to start to then create what is known as a plus communication model, where all members of the team are in a positive state, are in a state where they can say things, where they can be creative and curious and bring up ideas and issues without it being conflict or drama or stress in the workplace. So this tool, as I have said, is called the process communication model. It was developed by Dr. Taibi Kahler. I am so lucky to now be one of the first people in Ontario to be able to offer this to corporations to come in and teach and help you develop a winning team. And why is this so important now? We are losing employees more and more and more. And if corporations want to keep employees, want to be able to retain the people within their workplace, it is really important that we start to understand human behavior. We understand the negative behavior that we as leaders can tend to bring when we show up and when we're stressed, and the ones in our workplace, so that we can then create a positive, psychologically safe space for people to perform at their best. And when you do that, you will retain and maintain your employees because they won't be interested to go look for something else. Or even if a headhunter calls them, they'll be like, you know what? I am working for a great leadership team who supports me and does good stuff to create a space of work that provides me a place to be positive, to be motivated, to be innovative, and to work really well. So if you are in Ontario and you want to learn more about how we can create a psychological safe space, create a great culture within your corporation, and use the same tools that companies like NASA and Pixar use in their organizations, then reach out and book a strategy session with me. There is a link below. I have small openings each week to be able to take calls with companies. And I really want to help you in this day and age create a culture that is incredible for your team. So my name is Nancy Micheli, and just as a refresher, I work with senior management and HR professionals who are frustrated, stressed out, and struggling with employee drama and turnover, and want to create a positive, motivated, and productive work culture and winning team. And what makes this process and working with me special is that not only do I provide you the training of the process communication model, I'll come work with you to develop a strategy and to help you over this training transform anybody who is performing in a negative way in your organization so that you can create that positive person. And you'll learn these processes can become quick and easy once you learn the way to decode a human being. And my goal is that my clients feel confident, relaxed, and able to minimize drama easily and quickly in the future. And by doing so, create an organization that is considered one of the top for people to work at, where people want to show up every day and you can keep and retain that incredible team. Cheers.